Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our second Facebook Live interview. I'm Nigel Silito from Insight Discovery. We have a very special guest for you today, Walter Jopp, who is the CEO of Zurich Middle East, and he's responsible for executing their strategy over here. So thank you, Walter, and thank you for agreeing to come on this show.
Well, thank you, Nigel. It's a subject I'm passionate about, and looking forward to our chat today.
Brilliant, thank you. And welcome to all our viewers. Do please send in your comments as this interview appears for the next 20 minutes or so. The more questions, the better. We want to make it as interactive as possible. So by way of a quick introduction, Walter's a well-known figure in the insurance industry. He's been with Zurich Insurance Company for, 25 years now?
25 years.
Congratulations. Yeah. And having checked your LinkedIn profile earlier, it seems you're a bit of a globetrotter because you've headed up businesses for them in Latin America, Asia, and now here in the Middle East, where I believe you've been the CEO for what?
Coming up to 4 years.
4 years, great, okay, thank you. And you're the perfect person to have on this interview today about why do you take independent financial advice? Because clearly you've been dealing with financial advisors on many different continents over these years. So before I get into the nitty-gritty of why independent advice, I believe the last couple of weeks have been pretty positive for Zurich. So could you please expand on that?
Well, they've been very busy for us, Nigel. We've just moved into beautiful new offices here in Emaar Square, so we've taken a whole floor in Emaar Building 6. We've also been celebrating 30 years in the region. And we also had the CEO of EMEA for Zurich come and visit us as well. So it all happened at the same time. Alongside that, we've launched our customer benefits campaign. So it's speaking about our claim statistics and what trends we're seeing in the market. And this week we're launching the Value of Advice campaign, something that I'm personally very passionate about, and I think it's very important. And it's all to do with financial education. We're committed to educating our customers. We're committed to educating the youth, and we've got various initiatives going on to do that.
Okay, great. So later on, I'll ask you some questions about this new initiative, which is all about why you should take independent financial advice. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of this interview, and that is, as an intermediary business, Zurich's obviously been dealing directly with financial advisory firms, and I believe you're regulated in the UAE, Qatar, and Bahrain. Why is this the case, and what, in your opinion, is the value of getting good independent financial advice over, say, the DIY route?
I'm a big fan of financial advice, and I have a financial advisor myself. I think it's really, really important for in whatever you do that you get a trusted and expert opinion on what it is you're trying to do. But there's been many pieces of research that outline the benefits of having a financial advisor, and actually if it's investments that you're talking about, Vanguard have done a piece of research in the UK where they say if your financial advisor can add as much as 3% per annum on the return that you have. And the reason for that is relatively simple. One of them is there's an array of products and services out there, so choosing the right vehicle into which to invest in. Understanding your goal and having a plan that is robust enough to be able to withstand the changes and the everyday issues in life. Understanding what happens in the market. So we all have situations, and I've lived through them myself, where the market has taken a downturn. And actually understanding that staying in the market is as important as actually keeping an eye on that. So all those things, a robust plan, the right vehicle, the right solution, one that's fit for purpose, is incredibly valuable, and that translates itself into paying less taxes somewhere else, having a robust financial solution, having the right succession plan or inheritance plan in place, or having a financial solution that really meets the needs and the goals are actually met, and that's true value.
Okay, great, thank you. My digital managers just remind me to make sure everyone hits the like button if you don't mind. Add a comment, please, and do share, and add the wow factor as well, the wow button. I believe that makes a big difference in terms of viewer audience. So let's get on to the next question. Let's say I've decided to take advice from a regulated financial advisor. What, in your opinion, are the questions I should ask at the initial meeting?
So I think this is very important. I think one of the key things that you want to be able to understand is that financial advisor regulated? What qualifications do they have? What experience do they have? Do they have access to whole of market products, or do they have access to just one company's products? And then try and obtain some references, try and understand what experience they've had, how long they've been in the industry, how long they've been, if it's Dubai or the UAE that we're talking about, how long that individual has been here, and what have they done. And I think there's some great resources out there, and one of them is the website Which Financial Advisor. It's an independent website. It allows you to check various advisory firms. It shows the levels of qualifications that they have and who they're regulated by. And that's very, very important, because at Zurich, we only deal with regulated financial advisors, so they need to be regulated by the insurance authority.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I believe that's been the case for many years,
Oh,
which doesn't apply necessarily to some of your peer group.
Yeah, I can't talk about the other peer group, but our position is quite clear. We are committed to the Middle East for the long term. We have been here 30 years. We intend to stay here. We're a leading player in this market, and we are staying here. And the benefit for customers to be regulated, to choose a regulated advisor, is that advisor has the insurance authority, or whichever regulator regulates them, as oversight. So there are ombudsmen that you can go through if there's an issue. You can clearly go back to the insurance company, or you can go to the insurance authority regulator if you do ever have an issue.
Okay. And who are the main regulators here in the UAE that are applicable to financial advisors?
So Zurich is an insurance company, so we are regulated by the insurance authority.
Mm-hmm.
As an entity, and then the insurance authority regulates insurance advisors, so that's the key regulator that we deal with. But there are other regulators. So you have ESCA, which is the Securities and Commodities regulator. So for investment only products. That's another regulator. We've got the DFSA, so the DIFC entity, which also regulates advisors, and that's another avenue.
Okay, great. Let's move on to the UAE specifically. I believe there are about 140 nationalities actually living here. So does Zurich create different products for, let's say, NRIs versus South Africans versus Brits like myself?
So we have a vast array of products and solutions, and whilst we don't specifically have a product for a specific nationality, because ultimately, the raw need is at a certain level. It's the same for everybody. We need to save more for our retirement. We need to protect ourselves and our loved ones, and so those things have no nationality. But clearly there are nuances amongst certain customer segments, and we have developed solutions for those customer segments, and there is more than one product or one solution that Zurich offers, and that's why it's important to get a financial advisor that has access to the whole array of that, because each one of those has been designed to meet a different need.
Okay, great, thank you. So having a loyal client relationship is obviously key to financial advisors, but how should they gain the trust of new clients, in your opinion?
How should a financial advisor? I think from a financial advisor perspective, what they need to be doing is being able to demonstrate their experience, so what qualifications, who they're regulated by, be able to offer prospective clients and new customers some references, and be able to demonstrate how long they've been in the industry and their experience.
Okay, good point. You may recall our company did a survey amongst 1,000 UAE residents about 4 months back, and one of the questions was, which profession has the worst reputation? Recruiters came out worse. Sorry for any friends watching who are recruiters. Estate agents were up there as well. But rather surprisingly, independent financial advisors, they were there, but they were only ranked 7th. About 6% of our sample thought they had a poor reputation. So whilst it's not great, they were even included in this list. What can the industry as a whole do to close this gap? So when we do the survey, let's say in 12 months' time, they don't even make an appearance on this list.
I think, just to go back to the points I made earlier, I think there is real value in financial advice, in an expert looking at your situation, understanding what you need, and providing a solution that's fit for purpose. There is real value in that. As an industry, and this is not solely in the Middle East, across the world, there hasn't always been as much trust of in the financial services industry. But what can we do? We need to be able to offer solutions, products, and services that are transparent. We need to offer whatever it is that we as Zurich or as an industry offers has to be explained in language that is not full of jargon, and that everybody can easily understand. Transparency, I think, is key to one of those things. There is an awful lot of information in the internet. There's lots of people that have views on what should happen and how it should happen. And I'm an advocate of saying, you know, as a world-class institution, Zurich has to offer products and services that are fit for purpose, and we do that, and we have changed all our literature and our website and the way that we communicate with customers to make it simpler and easier to understand. So that's from our perspective as an industry. But there is also the regulators. We are seeing more and more activity from the regulators across the world and here also in the Middle East. And part of that is to ensure that customers are understanding what they're purchasing. It also needs to be understood that these services are highly valuable. Ensuring you have a solid financial plan is very, very important for the well-being of yourself and your loved ones. And there is a price for that. And so when you speak to a financial advisor, you need to talk to them about remuneration, about costs, about things. And a good and professional financial advisor will most definitely be able to answer those questions.
Great. We actually just had a comment in saying, totally agree with Walter, transparency builds trust. So let's talk about the regulator, the insurance authority, which obviously regulates your business. They also regulate the financial advisors who you're dealing with. So what are the plans for the insurance authority over the short and medium term? And is there going to be, for example, more transparency coming in as you see in other parts of the world?
I think we're seeing a global trend of transparency, of financial information. I think from the insurance authority, there's been some draft regulation that has been issued now nearly a couple of years ago, and there's been several iterations of that have been issued. But the underlying things are looking at the way that illustrations are presented to a customer, so they understand what the returns are, and looking at the way that a product performs, and also trying to regulate the charges and commission levels that some of these products generate.
Great. And talking about products and services, let's do a quick advert for Zurich. So what are your main products and services here in, let's say, the UAE?
So we offer solutions for corporates and for retail customers. We offer protection, so life cover, critical illness, all those things. And then we offer solutions that are linked to savings and investments. And we do that for, if it's a corporate, it will be a what could be seen as a pension plan or as an employee savings plan. Okay. So we do that, and we also offer retail solutions, and there's an array of retail solutions depending on the need of the customer.
Okay, well, let's talk quickly about end of service benefit, because obviously it's a bit of a hot topic. I remember you've had a bit of press coverage on it as well. So the DIFC's brought in some new legislation, hasn't it, for companies registered in DIFC. Do you think that will be extended elsewhere, forcing companies to set up a kind of employee savings scheme?
So the DIFC is actually looking at this at the moment, and they're going through a process to try and find a solution for companies that are based within the DIFC. There is an absolute need in this country to one, ensure that end of service gratuity benefit is fully funded. Many companies essentially are funding it straight off their balance sheet, so there is actually no asset, no tangible asset to pay for that, and that's worked relatively well up until now. But I think going forward, I think there's a realization that liability is getting bigger and bigger all the time, and a more robust solution needs to be found. I think in terms of companies and looking after their employees, providing a benefit which actually provides the employee a a fund or an investment or a pension in the future is something that's very, very attractive. And if you as a company are trying to recruit the best possible employees, that's going to be a very attractive. It's a robust, solid solution, and I think I think over time it will most definitely be adopted across the wider market.
And I know something you're very passionate about is this Investors program, where you catch them young and you educate them on finance and mutual funds. Perhaps you could tell everyone a bit about that campaign and maybe how it's going to be rolled out elsewhere.
Yeah, so at Zurich we're passionate to increase financial awareness, and we've got various campaigns ongoing. But one of the ones that I particularly like is Investors. And what we did there is we teamed up with GEM schools in order to work with students that are 17 to 18 years old, and we worked with them. We did a fantasy portfolio, and what we were able to do is explain how investments work, what affects that investment, what's happening at a global level that can affect the returns on your investment. So that's all part of the education, and people understanding that being invested for the medium to long term, investing in the right assets is very much the way forward. And then the cohort that we had learnt about charges, learnt about returns, learnt about different stock, and different asset classes within the stock market, and it was a very valuable real life lesson for these students, and one we're very, very proud of.
Good, excellent, great campaign. So for anyone watching this show, what tips would you give them for ensuring they leave the UAE wealthier and more financially secure than when they actually first arrived?
We are incredibly fortunate, Nigel, to live in this wonderful country that we call the UAE. We're, there is limited taxation in terms of VAT, but beyond that, there's also very little taxation, and so therefore, it not only is it a great place to live, but it provides a lifestyle that many of the expats that come here to work wouldn't necessarily have back at home. And so therefore it becomes very, very important to have a plan to save for the future, to save for a rainy day, to ensure that you have, that you have a nest egg when your time here has come and is done. And this is not a problem solely confined here to the Middle East, but it's a global issue. We are seeing across the world that people are not saving enough for their retirement. They're not protecting themselves. They're not doing that. And insurance is one of those things that when you need it most, that's when you find out, oh, I wish I would have been insured, or I wish I had a bit more cover, and that's why we at Zurich have paid $102 million in claims over the last 3 years.
Wow.
This number is increasing, and it just highlights the need, because for many of our customers, if something happens to the main breadwinner, they will have to repatriate themselves. The family and the loved ones will have to go and look at how to establish a new life, and that's going to require some cash. We can't bring the loved one back, but what we can do is make sure that from a financial perspective, the family's looked after.
Great, brilliant. Well, I've really enjoyed this interview. Thank you for your time, and I have to say congratulations on this stunning new office. It's absolutely fantastic. And just as a quick wrap up, do please check out Zurich's new Value Advice campaign, which is, as Walter mentioned, in collaboration with whichfinancialadvisor.com. You can visit www.zurich.ae/home financial-professional. So that will take you through to this new campaign, which is going digital big time as well. So again, thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure interviewing you. And for everyone watching, thank you for your questions. And we'll be doing this again in about a month's time. So thank you. Good night.
Thank you.